The QLINE Detroit has been shut down for almost a year during COVID-19, and True wants to know why. So joining us here on Tapping into Transit, we have Lisa Nuszkowski, president of M1 Rail and overseer of the QLINE. My name is Iadipaolo. Lisa, thank you for joining us on Tapping into Transit.
Thank you so much for having me here.
The pleasure's all ours, and thanks for checking in with us. So, we know that you've been a leader in Detroit transit for some time now, but for those of you, us that might not be aware, can you explain just a little bit about yourself and the role that you've recently come into?
Yeah, so I am a proud Detroiter of about 17 years now, moved to the city after I finished graduate school and have been working, broadly speaking, and I would say community and economic development in the public and nonprofit sector for that time. But how my journey in the mobility area got started was working at Wayne State University about, gosh, how many years ago is it now? 7, 8, 9 years ago? 2012, 9 years ago. That time's really flown by. And we were approached by a couple members of the community who were interested in starting a conversation about launching a bike share system in Detroit. And so I just kind of happened to be in the right place at the right time and said, I'd love to work on this project. And so that was the starting point for what eventually became MOGO, which is Detroit's nonprofit bike share system. And so I'm the founder and executive director of MOGO. I'm transitioning out of that role right now, obviously. I'm stepping into the QLINE role, but we launched our service actually just 2 weeks after the QLINE in May 2017, and at that time had 440 bikes at 43 stations, and we've since expanded MOGO to not only greater downtown Detroit, but also the Livernois-McNichols area, Palmer Park area of Detroit, as well as the communities of Ferndale, Royal Oak, Oak Park, Berkeley, and Huntington Woods. So I became really passionate about mobility through that work because we've really focused, all of our work on how we can make it equitable and accessible for everyone, because we know that there are a wide range of people and needs in the city and in the region for that matter. And we think that bike share could play a role in that. And so the more I've gotten into that, the more I've really thought about, what are other ways we can move and connect people to the places that they need to go, and do that with, with dignity, with accessibility, with all sort of the hallmarks of, you don't just have to have a personal vehicle to be able to get around and live your life here. And so then I was approached about coming to the QLINE and was excited about the challenges and opportunities that exist here. And so I just started my role here in January of 2021, and I'm excited to be getting the service back up and running a bit later this year.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we love MOGO over at True. I live around the area as well. I see the bikes all over, so that's super cool. And congratulations on your new role over at M1. And we're excited to hear more about the QLINE. So, like I said earlier, the QLINE has been shut down for about a year, around since COVID began. And I think you just briefly mentioned going to get started back up soon. Can you speak, though, before, why was it shut down for so long?
Yeah, well, to no one's surprise, the pandemic has had a huge impact on on transit all across the city, right, and us included. And so, at the end of March, we made the decision to suspend service. At that point, the pandemic was just a few weeks old. We weren't sure whether that was going to be a couple of weeks. And people would be returning to work. Obviously, that's all extended much longer than any of us anticipated. And so, as time went on, there have been challenges that the QLINE has faced that we thought, while we're in suspended service, this is a great opportunity for us to really dig deep and to address some of those challenges. And so, one of the things that we did is we've parted ways with our former operator. So we used to have a third party that was operating the system, and then M1 Rail, which is the nonprofit entity that runs the QLINE, was just overseeing that operator. And so we decided that this is a great opportunity for us to bring all those functions in-house and for us to really take on full responsibility and ownership for running the system. And so we've been using, while we haven't been operating, we've been really using this time to do a lot of work on rebuilding our organization and focusing on training, focusing on testing the cars, making sure that they're ready to go once we're back up and running. And so, there's the the saying I think a lot of us have gotten familiar with over the last year, which is, don't waste the opportunity that a good crisis provides. And so we've really taken that to heart, and have been using that time to focus on improving service so that when we relaunch later this year, that people will want to hop on and ride the QLINE again.
Well, I think that's awesome that the QLINE and M1 have been so intentional about using this interim period of service being shut down to really analyze the QLINE and to make those substantial improvements. I think we all enjoy hearing that. So what is the official or unofficial timeline and process for getting the QLINE back up? Do we have a projected date or at least kind of time frame set?
Yeah, so we are looking at a late summer restart. And I know that probably sounds like a long time. We're sitting here in April right now talking. You're like, why can't it start up, in a month or so? So, the QLINE, even though it's a streetcar, it is still a rail system. And so there are a number of things from a safety perspective, from a regulatory perspective that we have to do in terms of getting our restart up and going. And so we are hard at work on all of that. I also mentioned, we're really focused on rehiring and hiring new folks, and then making sure everyone is trained or retrained in some cases. And so we're focused on that. And then we'll be doing some simulated passenger service over the course of mid to late summer, making sure we've got as many of the kinks worked out. We're also really focused on how we respond to blockages that occur along the alignment. So things like people parking their car on the alignment, accidents that happen, things like that. We're really focused on how we can address those as quickly and safely as possible so that it doesn't interrupt service. And so while 5 months seems like it's a ways off, we're looking at late summer at restarting. And so we're focusing on all of those service improvements so that when we reopen, we're not dealing with delays. And when we are facing delays due to factors that we can't control, we're responding to them much more quickly so that people get where they need to go.
So people get where they need to go. Fantastic.
That's right.
Fantastic. So late summer, midsummer relaunch, doing a whole bunch of testing, education. I think the simulation thing is really cool. If I'm understanding that correctly, gonna kind of test it out, make sure the system's running like a simulate rides. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, exactly. So we're planning on a 4-car service where we're doing 15 minutes or less, where folks can plan on that. And so really what that is for us is making sure that we've got our schedule down, right? And not only the schedule, but also the on-time arrival information. I know that has been a challenge for us and our riders in the past, where the information that they were getting either at the stations or on the app didn't necessarily match what was happening on the ground. And so we're going to be deploying some new technology that we're using that will help us both internally to better understand what the distance is between cars, and also to more accurately communicate the time between cars, so that when you go to a station or you pull out an app and say, the streetcar is 7 minutes away, it's actually 7 minutes away. It's not 14 or 20 or more. And so those are the kinds of things that we'll be testing out during simulated service. And so when folks see the cars out there, know that that's what our team is focused on, is some of those behind the scenes improvements that we hope will really provide for a much better experience for our riders.
Fantastic. So, more reliable, 15 minutes or less, that's an awesome goal there. Using more accurate technology, kind of doing things more in-house so that there's more coordination in terms of services, kind of very, doing a lot of different things on a planning perspective to make service just all around more reliable and better for QLINE riders. Anything else in terms of bold goals, vision, where the QLINE's going next? Anything else you'd like to mention before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of things. Yeah, there are some pinch points that we deal with along the way. When pre-pandemic, when we were all going to sporting events and concerts and whatnot, some of the activity that would happen downtown often presented a real challenge for us. And so we're working with some of our partners to address a more permanent solution for blockages, particularly in front of Little Caesars Arena. So we've been working very closely with Olympia Development, the city and the state on some solutions that will help us get through that area, as well as help facilitate other transit through that area during those busy periods of time. I mentioned before working on, addressing the blockages that we, experience along the alignment. and also streamlining enforcement. So we're actually working with some of our partners in the state legislature to help make it easier for us to be able to address things like if somebody has left a car on the streetcar tracks. We're not a bus, we can't drive around that. We're limited to the rail, and so being able to get the ability to tow vehicles that are parked and unoccupied on the tracks, so that we can keep the streetcar moving. So those are some of the things that I would say tactically that we're focused on. But I also just want to remind folks that really the QLINE was always meant to be the building block of a much bigger vision for additional transit that we can have here in the city. And so I think that we're really focused on solving the challenges that we have today, so that we can keep that bigger vision alive in terms of making sure we've got access to great other transit. And with all these opportunities, with the stimulus funding coming out of the federal government, and potentially this infrastructure plan that President Biden is putting on the table, we think that there are some exciting opportunities to support and grow transit in the city. And so we're focused on our piece of the puzzle, and hope that can contribute to a broader vision of more and better transit options for everyone in the city and the region.
Wow. Awesome. I think I speak for a lot of people in our transit community when we say thank you for your new leadership, and for really approaching that bolder vision for better transit, and kind of integrating the community and the QLINE into those conversations. I think we're all really looking forward to seeing where the QLINE goes. We kind of put it down at the bottom, but Twitter at QLINE Detroit for more updates as service begins and as service gets better. And I know once vaccines roll out, we'll be trying the QLINE again. As always, this program is brought to you by our wonderful members at Transportation Riders United. All of the support of our memberships keeps these broadcasts rolling. So we want to say thank you to our true members. And if you're not yet a member, join today at DetroitTransit.org to get access to exclusive information, engagement opportunities, and etc. Lisa, thank you so much for your time and joining us here on Tapping Into Transit. Anything else before we sign off here tonight?
No, it was great chatting with you, Andre, and hopefully we can chat again as we get closer to our launch date.
Yes, you are welcome back on the show anytime. We'd love to hear from our friends at the QLINE, and maybe we can talk about more about M1 Rail next time.
Fabulous. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine.
Take care.